I mean, I've never experienced this, so I don't know. Was there any hope? Did you have hope, like maybe they will survive? I mean, I don't know. Or were you just always like, I know they're going to die. Like, I'm preparing my heart for their death.
Yeah, it was really after the 20-week appointment. That was a huge appointment to see how well their heart was forming. And because God can do the impossible. I really believe that. Like, he can make organs appear out of nothing. And just, that's what I was praying for. I was just like, oh my gosh, Lord, I just hope there could be another heart. If there were two hearts, there could be a chance of separation. But after that point, they're like, their heart is severely malformed. There was a 4-chambered heart with 2 left aortas, one giving rise to another, and it was just impossible to separate. And people even asked me, oh, could you give the heart to one baby and not the other? First, how could I even choose which one of my babies gets to live or not? And second, it's such a malformed heart, it wouldn't even benefit one baby. So the fact that it was sustaining both lives, it was a miracle.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Politely Rude with Abby Johnson. I'm so glad that you have joined us yet again. This episode is going to be an episode that we have never had a guest talk about this before. So I'm very interested in our guest story today. I honestly have never heard it. So this is going to be the first time that we are chatting, and I'm going to be on the edge of my seat as she tells her story, because it's going to be the first time I'm hearing it. Nicole LeBlanc is our guest today. She is a 26-year-old traditional Catholic, which I love. A wife, mother, and a business owner. She has a Bachelor of Science in Psychology from Wayne State University and is CEO of her family's business, Duque Hoodliner Productions. I don't know what that is. She'll tell us. Recently, she began her public speaking and pro-life advocacy all over the state of Michigan. Nicole shares her testimony of her conjoined twins with one shared heart who lived for 1 hour. Nicole has been featured on Epoch Times, Church Pop, EWTN News Nightly, Catholic News Agency, and the National Catholic Register. And now, most importantly, Politely Rude with Abby Johnson. She hopes that by sharing her testimony, she can be easily accessible to those mothers and families who face a terminal diagnosis for their babies in the womb and help change minds and hearts. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being on and being willing to share your story.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor, and I'm so excited to meet you. Fangirling a little bit too.
Well, thank you. So I've never even in my life talked to anyone who has had conjoined twins. So I think it's a medical phenomenon that is kind of a fascination for many people, because I think it's pretty rare from what I know. We see, I think we've all kind of seen stories about it. But I think most of us probably do not know anyone who has, had conjoined twins, because it is rare. So, and we've had people on, who have had, children with terminal diagnoses, and they've chosen life. But this is a specifically sort of different situation that you are in. Can you, first of all, do you have other children?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yeah, I have my 6-month-old.
Okay. So these babies, this was before. Was this your first pregnancy?
It was my very first pregnancy. Yep.
Okay. And so you're, of course, thrilled. You find out you're pregnant. You're so excited. And then what happens?
Yeah, they took me back for my first ultrasound at 7 weeks just to make sure everything's looking all right, to find the heartbeat and whatnot. And so it was just that 7 week appointment. My OB, she had such a hard time at what she was looking at. And she's like, there's a heartbeat. So that's great. I'm crying. I'm so emotional. And she's like, but I think I'm seeing two heads, four arms. Like, I don't know what I'm really looking at here because it's one heartbeat, but it looks like I'm seeing extra limbs. And my husband was there. She asked my husband, like, so what do you think I'm looking at? He's like, I don't know. Like, I've never even seen an ultrasound. Like, she was a doctor too, not just like a regular OB. She was the doctor. So she like ran to get another doctor. She's like, well, if you position the wand like this and this, and it looks like one baby. So they're like, just come back in a few weeks and we'll see. Because this could be like a high risk pregnancy. If there's two babies in one sack, maybe one baby's hiding behind the other. And at that point, I was just like, all right, I'm happy. There's a heartbeat and everything's okay. We'll just leave it at that.
Never in your mind did you think, I may have conjoined twins. I mean, like, did that ever pop into your mind?
One time when I was pregnant, because I was so sick with the morning sickness, like to the extreme. I had like the hypermesis, and
Okay.
I was in the emergency room getting fluids. And I asked my mom, I'm like, were you ever this sick? She said no. So with the twin, I'm like, what if it's twins? And that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, conjoined twins. Could you imagine like worst case scenario?
So when did you find out that it was actually conjoined twins?
At 10 weeks. At 10 weeks, I went to the ER. I had really bad like abdominal pain. They had no idea why I had this pain, but I took medicine. If it doesn't resolve, come back to the ER. We'll do another scan. And this time it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. My husband wasn't allowed back there. I think it was still COVID time. And, or just like there were still some restrictions because it was 2022. And, the technician was just silent the whole time, and I was shaking because I knew something was wrong. I knew at that point something was wrong. And she's like, all right, well, I'm going to go and run and grab your husband because he needs to take some pictures of what I'm looking at. And I'm like, okay, so that's a good sign. That it means my baby's alive. So she literally runs, she sprints out of the room and she comes back in and she's like, well, I have some news to share with you. You are indeed pregnant with twins, but your twins are very special because they're conjoined and they're sharing a heart, and it looks like they're also sharing a liver and other organs.
At 10 weeks, they could tell.
At 10 weeks. Yup.
So at that time, so then what happens? I mean, you're 10 weeks along. There's one heart. They're sharing several organs. Now there's no possibility of separation, both having, I mean, that's happened in rare occasions where there's, they each have separate organs. There's been separation and they can live separate lives. Now, that's not going to be possible. So what is going on in your mind? What's the conversation with you and your husband?
I had a somewhat medical background, so I obviously knew that at that point that they were going to die, and soon. My husband, he had no idea what conjoined twins meant. He just heard twins and he's like, oh my gosh, like I'm so excited, twins. And I had explained to him like, no, honey, they're going to die. There's no other way. He's like, what do you mean? And a lot of family had no idea what the term conjoined even meant. They just heard twins and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. I'm like, no, they're going to die. Like, what do you mean? So after that, they kept me for observation, and I had rounds of doctors come in and tell me everything there is to know about conjoined twins, the limited data. And most of their data is skewed for conjoined twins because most people decide to terminate. They decide to have an abortion because it's just too extreme of a diagnosis and because of the likelihood. So they told us all these statistics. They said most likely you're probably going to have a miscarriage. And if not, you can maybe go a little bit further and they could be stillborn. or the very unlikely scenario, they make it to like 30 something weeks. They can be delivered. You'll need to have a C section, and they can live for maybe minutes, hours, or days. So I was devastated because I was so ready to be a mom. I got married. We were trying for almost about a year at this point, and so I was completely devastated.
So so now you've talked to doctors. Now what? Like what do you do now? Do they send you to a high risk physician? What does the physician suggest to you?
Yeah, so even then at that hospital, they were like, okay, we need to do more in-depth studies to see what other organs they share. And the more organs they share, the more rare it is. So it's like one in every 500,000 live births. I think that's what my girls were, because they shared liver, heart, diaphragm, bowels, one umbilical cord that sustained life for both of them. And they were like, okay, well, how do you want to proceed? And I'm like, what do you mean? How do I want to proceed? And they're like, well, we can't do abortions here, but we can send you to another facility and they can take care of the situation for you. And I could clearly see my daughters jumping in unison off the side of my womb. And I'm like, how can I murder them? How can I have an abort? They're clearly trying to survive right now. They are just helpless little babies. They didn't ask to be born this way. They didn't ask to be formed like this. Why should they suffer? And, having this background as traditional Catholics, we're like, absolutely not. We're not going to. So we had multiple doctors come in and kind of pressure us and like ask why. Like, why would you rather keep them? And it was just crazy to deal with that. So they're like, well, we can't really handle this kind of pregnancy at this hospital. So we're going to have to transfer you to the major hospital in the state of Michigan, and they can foresee your care from here.
So what did that look like? What did prenatal care look like for you?
It was every 2 weeks. Ever since I got the diagnosis, every 2 weeks, I had to go and have an ultrasound because I really couldn't feel them moving until like 20 weeks, maybe even a little before. So I had to have ultrasounds every 2 weeks just to check on to see if they're still alive. And once they got a little bit bigger, we had the anatomy scan to fully see everything that they were sharing, and even a fetal echocardiogram, which is amazing. I was fascinated every single time I went to the appointment because they were just growing and growing. And I mean, I was terrified because of the risk of miscarriage. I never knew I could wake up one day and they could be gone. And that was terrifying for me. I was just really sad, but I wanted to make it a happy experience for the girls, and to find out that they were girls, I was so happy. And yeah, it was just incredible to see them growing and progressing every 2 weeks.
Now, were they identical twins? Is that how
Yeah,
this are conjoined twins always identical
always
twins?
identical. Always. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, was there a feeling? I mean, I've never experienced this, so I don't know. Was there any hope? Did you have hope, like maybe they will survive? I mean, I don't know. Or were you just always like, I know they're going to die. Like I'm preparing my heart for their death.
Yeah. It was really after the 20-week appointment. That was a huge appointment to see how well their heart was forming. And because God can do the impossible. I really believe that. Like he can make organs appear out of nothing. And just that's what I was praying for. I was just like, oh my gosh, Lord, I just hope there could be another heart. If there were two hearts, there could be a chance of separation. But after that point, they're like, their heart is severely malformed. There was a four-chambered heart with two left aortas, one giving rise to another. And it was just impossible to separate. And people even asked me, oh, could you give the heart to one baby and not the other? First, how could I even choose which one of my babies gets to live or
Hmm.
not? And second, it's such a malformed heart, it wouldn't even benefit one baby. So the fact that it was sustaining both lives, it was a miracle. And after that point, they were like, well, they look stable for now, so we can really see delivery until 35 weeks. Let's plan a C-section for 35 weeks. And it will most likely have to be a classical cesarean section, because how they're conjoined was they shared the chest cavity. their
Hmm.
clavicles, they were looking at each other, and so they were always hugging each other, kicking, kissing each other, and right where like your umbilical cord is, that's where the connection stops. So they had their own arms and legs, heads. They just shared all like the major organs.
Wow. So, did you make it to 35 weeks?
We made
And
it to 32 weeks.
okay.
We made it to 32.
And what was there like a reason they decided we need to go ahead and deliver at 32 weeks?
Yeah, it was their shared heart. Every 2 weeks, that's what they looked for, signs of heart failure. And at that one, it was just a regular checkup appointment. They were like, okay, we need to move up the date for the C-section because their shared heart is now starting to fail. And if you want to have a live birth and with a chance of them to try and survive outside the womb, we need to push up the C-section for. So that appointment was a Friday. The delivery was on Tuesday. So I had just a weekend to call the funeral home, call the church, make a visitation appointments, just everything. And they were so confused. They're like, "Oh, so how can we help you?" I come in, I'm pregnant with twins. They're like, "Oh, well, I need to schedule the appointment for making a visitation, a funeral." And the guy was super confused. He's like, "I never heard of conjoined twins. You need two caskets." I'm like, "No, you only need one. It's for two people." And they'd never seen anything like that before. Even we had a baptismal gown made for them for two
Mhm.
babies, and it was really beautiful. And yeah, so there the C-section. I had a classical C-section, so I have to keep on having C-sections in the future to for all my babies. And that day was May 16th, 2023.
So what does that mean? A classical C-section, like up and down,
I
or
had the up and down incision. Yeah, to
okay?
safely deliver them. One of the other things, they tried to scare me because they really wanted to push me to have an abortion. Even when they transferred me from the one hospital when I got the diagnosis to the other, I was around 15, 16 weeks, and they still asked me if I wanted an abortion. And they were already 16-week babies, pretty big. And I was so upset that they even offered that to me. But I said, no, no, we're going to keep on going. So the safest way was a classical C-section. And they're like, well, there's a chance that your life could also be at risk. I think that was just trying to reach for me to
Hmm.
really have an abortion. I'm like, how is this any different than any regular twin? Some moms have like quintuplets, like how is this any different? But it's the fact that by delivering both babies at the same time, like my sides could rip open, like you can bleed out on the table. I'm like, well,
Hmm.
I'm going to at least give them a chance. They deserve a chance.
Yeah. So were you awake during the delivery?
I was awake. I was
Okay.
awake, and it was packed. It was a packed OR. My husband was there. My mom was there. A photographer, a priest was there, and all the staff, surgeons. And we had them. They were born alive. They were born and they lived for 1 hour outside the womb. And just a few minutes um, after that delivery, they passed away an hour later. But they were baptized and confirmed right on my chest.
That's beautiful. Is there a time during the pregnancy or anything that's like especially memorable for you or you and your husband?
Yeah, I mean, it was just incredible to see them grow and to progress every 2 weeks. We were able to see their faces, their little features, and even their personalities were even so different from one another. One was really active, the other one was a little bit more tired or shy. And it was just so beautiful to see them grow like that. And just the community that really came together in support for me because this was my first pregnancy. I didn't get to have a normal celebration for them. I didn't get to have a baby shower. I didn't get to do a lot of things. Even buy clothes. I'm like, what if the off chance they live for a couple of days? A lot of pro-life organizations were like, okay, let's throw you like a little mini virtual baby shower. People sent me onesies so I can like make little button onesies that would fit them, and just strangers that came together. And because I know people are curious about conjoined twins, you only ever hear them about like on the TV or shows about them, and
Hmm.
it's incredibly rare, and people just wanted to know, and I wanted to share.
You named them. obviously.
Yes.
What are their names?
Baby A is Maria Therese, and baby B is Rachel Claire.
And what I mean, I guess they don't, do they have individual weights? How do they weigh conjoined twins?
Yeah, they just weigh them down together on the little thing, and I think they were 7 pounds 2 ounces when they were born. So they were
Oh,
big babies. Yeah, they would have been around 3 pounds each, something three something. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but they were fully developed. They had like all their fingers, toes. They had so much hair. It explained the heartburn, but yeah, they were very beautiful babies.
Yeah. And so then you got pregnant again. Then was that like a couple years later, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. They said after having this classical C-section, thank God I had no complications, nothing. They said try to wait at least a year or two before even trying to conceive again. So that's what we did. They said, well, I was a little bit younger. I healed pretty fast. I think the grief is what I'm still trying to heal from to this day. But it was a year and a month exactly. I got pregnant again. And I was just really scared that, oh my gosh, all my pregnancies will be high risk, especially if if you had a classical C-section first, all your subsequent pregnancies would be high risk because of the risk of uterine rupture with having a classical C-section beforehand. So I had my baby, my rainbow baby. She was born a month early as well, in February of this year. Isabella Gianna, and she was perfectly healthy and looks like her sisters too.
I mean, I'm sure there was there was a fear. Was there a fear like after you got pregnant, like, is this going to happen again? I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know anything about this. Like, how does that happen? Is it just, I mean, identical twins, they're not genetic, right? It's just kind of a fluke. Like the egg
Mhm.
separates, just kind of a fluke. I mean, like, is that how congenital twins happen? It's just kind of some kind of random
Mhm.
something that happens in
Yeah,
the
it
womb?
was that completely random. Yeah, identical twins are random. Fraternal, I believe, are genetic.
Hmm.
And so the identical twin is from one egg and one sperm. They met and they fused. And usually with twins, there's a few different kinds of identical twins as well. But there's supposed to be like a little cleavage burrow that happens when the egg starts to separate into two. Usually that happens at around day 2 or 3 after conception. But in this case, for conjoined twins, it happens around 13 days is when it starts forming. So a little bit delayed. And there was another theory that there could be two eggs they successfully separated at one point, but for some reason they could gravitate toward each other again and then just start fusing after. So even medical scientists have no idea why it happens or how it happens. They just know it's completely random. Nothing I did, nothing my husband did. A lot of people asked, was it any medical intervention like vaccines or nothing? I mean, my husband and we said no to nothing. So it's just completely random.
Yeah. So there's not like oh, this could happen again. Like, this is in our genetics or something, like, because it is just completely
Completely
just out
random.
of your control. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it always could happen again, or something else could always happen. I know a mom, she had conjoined twins. They passed away. It was her first pregnancy, and then she got pregnant again, and then the baby had a heart defect and also passed
Mm-hmm.
away. And she's still trying to conceive. So it's yeah, I was confused. I was scared and confused why this happened to me, and oh my gosh, could this happen again with this baby? Because my morning sickness was terrible. It was very difficult with twins, and it's kind of like, oh, did I do this for nothing? And I was like, no, it's not for nothing. But I went through pregnancy. I had a C-section, and I don't have my babies to show for.
Mm-hmm.
But they were baptized and confirmed on my chest. So as Catholics, I believe I have my own little sister saints
Mm-hmm.
looking and watching over me and Isabella and her dad.
How how did your what did this do to your faith life? I mean, during the pregnancy, after you delivered, um, was it a challenge to your faith? Do you feel like it grew your faith? What was that like?
Yeah, I was always like just a cradle Catholic, always just growing up, going to church every Sunday. I never really fought it. I loved going to church. You never really had to ask me or beg me to go. And somewhere during COVID time, I really started increasing in my faith after finding the traditional Latin Mass. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is just so beautiful. So, right after I discovered the Mass of the Ages is when I got pregnant with the girls. So, having that background and I know now, the devil hates Latin. So, I learned all my prayers in Latin, especially like the Hail Mary, Our Father, all that. I would pray for my girls, pray over them. I'd constantly go to confession, and we still do. It was challenging. I was just really questioning God, like, why me? Like, why is this happening? Like, I thought, like, I'm a good Catholic. Like, I pray my rosary, I go to Mass, like, I'm doing all these things. I'm like, why me? My dad passed away when I was 15. So I'm like, oh, all these things are getting taken away from me. And it's like, who am I to question God? Who am I to
Mm-hmm.
interfere with his plans, with what this is how he wanted it to be? Hopefully I'll find out in the future why I have to keep on having C-sections. I need to also need to wait now a year or two after all this deliveries to have more babies, and it might not look like how I wanted it to be. I wanted to have like 10 kids and pop them out one, two, three, but that's just not what God wants for me right now. So um, yeah, I just know that I wanted to name them something religious too, so I can give them back as a gift. Because I know
Mm-hmm.
our children here are for very temporary, and I know we're going to be judged one day how well we raise them and how well we're going to get them into heaven as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe there's like growth in the waiting, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
between between each child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't always understand God's
Yeah.
plans, certainly.
Yeah.
Um, how how have you been and your family been honoring their memory since their passing?
Yeah, after I had them, I had decided to donate my breast milk in their
Mm-hmm.
honor, and I donated to local moms. I donated to a milk bank here in the state of Michigan, and I think I donated, gosh, well over 1,000 ounces or so of
Wow.
milk. So I pumped for 6 months until eventually the grief caught up with me, and I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to let that go because it's the only thing I had
Yeah.
pretty much left of them, and just other little keepsakes, mementos. I try to post this on my social media as well, to bring awareness about conjoined twins and babies with a fatal diagnosis, and how can we support those moms with baby loss, infant loss. And people had made me like little trinkets, even with my breast milk, like little necklaces
Mm-hmm.
and things with like their footprints. I have statues, I have pictures of them in my house, and people know that these babies existed, and they're a part of our family. Our family looks a little different, but they're still a part of it.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times we hear, I mean, especially on the other side of the pro-life debate, we hear people kind of use these exceptional cases as an excuse for the legality of abortion. Um, and, people will say, well, what about, medical reasons for abortion, or, medical instances where abortion is necessary. Um, I haven't had that experience. I can't speak personally from that experience. You have. Um, what do you, what do you say to someone who would say that, who would say, well, it's harder to go through a pregnancy knowing your child is going to die rather than just, going through an abortion and just taking care of it, earlier. What would you say to that? Someone who has experienced it.
Yeah, I recently had someone comment that on my video that I put on my Instagram. I shared my story there too. And someone said, well, as a former fetus, I would have rather had been aborted than to be born next to my sibling. Or And at that time, even 10 weeks, no matter what way you choose to have your abortion, it's still brutal. It is so brutal for these poor innocent babies. They didn't ask to be born like this. Again, like they're innocent here. Um, And I feel like these babies with disabilities or major deformities need to be loved and cherished even more so than babies who are perfectly fine. They're going to have love all their lives and live fulfilling lives and everything. But my comment to that, I was like, wow, I can't believe someone said that. So it comes down to a question of, how do you want to die? I mean, once you're created at the moment of your conception, you're alive, you're a human person. So you know from that moment on, eventually you are going to pass away one day. We all are going to die. And that's something that also impacted my faith life, is really thinking about our death. And how do I want my babies to die? If they're going to die anyways, what it's basically, well, how would I choose for them to die? An abortion with instruments and needles and pain and suffering? Or am I going to allow them to be born peacefully? They weren't in any pain. A lot of people like to think they're in pain. They're not, because that's just how they were forming. And they were just in complete peace. They were held on to each other. They took one inhale in and then they exhaled together in the arms of their dad. I mean, it was so peaceful passing. There was no struggling, nothing. They were loved for their entire life. There was no needles, there was no instruments. They weren't ripped apart limb by limb. They were just with so much love. All that they knew was love. They didn't know deception or hate or anything, nothing like that. So it really comes down to, how do you want to honor your baby? Do you want, and everyone deserves a chance at life. I mean, we don't get past this life without struggling or pain, or there's going to be so many things that we encounter. But these little babies with heart defects or trisomy conditions or even Down syndrome, it's like, come on, these babies deserve more than that. They deserve to be held by their family members, and all that they need to know is love.
They think, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I could know that my child was going to die and feel my baby, moving inside of me, see the baby on the ultra, and just, it would be like a impending doom, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I know my baby is safe as long as he or she is inside of me. And I think that is a fear, for women. Like, maybe it would just be easier if I just had an abortion early and then I just didn't have to think about it, anymore. But I always think, as someone who has seen the actuality of abortion, right? Like, what abortion actually is and what it does to the baby, right? Like, what it does. I just can't imagine that is what any mother would really want. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just feel, that had to be hard for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, that had to be a very difficult awareness,
Yeah, I was crying all the time. I cried. I didn't want them to be born at the same time. I'm like, they are so safe with me. Like, why does this have to happen? Because I know that the moment that they're going to be born, they're going to die. I was just I didn't want to let go of them. They were my babies. This is all the memories I had. Is the morning of the C-section, I did not want to go. I'm like, they're just safe here with me. But as a parent, you have to understand that we have to let go of our kids at some point, whether it's a matter of time, whether it's right now at their birth or when they get married or when they move out of home and go to college. We have to let go of them at some point. At some point, they're going to die. We don't even know. Maybe they'll live till 5 years old. Maybe there'll be an accident or something. But it's just, you have to let go. Our children are not they're ours. But if you believe in God and you have a faith life, you know that they belong to Jesus. They belong there. It's just how well we can get them to heaven.
Yeah, and I think that is the perspective that makes the difference, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if we understand as parents that our children are really not our own, mm-hmm. like that our children are given to us by God, mm-hmm. with the entire intention that we give them back to Him.
Yes.
right? At some point. And sometimes that point is going to be earlier than we would
Hmm.
like, right?
Yeah.
But when I think of stories like yours, I think what a beautiful existence for your babies
Hmm.
to, only know the love of their mother and father while they were here on earth, to, pass away from this earth in their father's arms, their earthly father's arms, and to open their eyes in their heavenly father's arms.
Hmm.
And I think, what a perfect existence, you
Hmm.
know, to never know pain or struggle or suffering. I mean, that, like, what a gift you gave
Yeah.
them, you know?
I tried. I tried my best. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're a very obviously faithful and very, very courageous mother, very courageous woman. And I think it's beautiful that you are being vulnerable and sharing this story. I think it will help many women. There are many times women, get these terminal diagnoses, and the medical establishment has so much authority over our lives at times, and I think a lot of times women feel bullied into choosing death for their children out of fear. And I think by sharing your story, you're really giving them the courage to say no. Like, I know what's best for my child, and that's life. And so I really do appreciate you speaking out and sharing this so beautifully.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
What's the one thing you hope people hearing this will take away from your story?
Yeah, I've had people reach out to me already and tell me that they've completely changed their mind on abortion because their reasons might not have been as good for people always think, oh, medical wise, or there's something
Mm-hmm.
wrong with the baby. But I've had people tell me that they don't want to have a baby for economic reasons or they just can't do it or whatnot, XYZ. But their baby's completely fine. Their baby is fine. And they're like, I feel guilty for even thinking this way. Even now, if my baby had to have some sort of medical thing going on, you've completely changed my mind on abortion. And I'm like, praise God that if my babies could save at least one life, change one heart, this will all have been worth it. Um, because it's a beautiful thing to be given a chance to live life. And that's just what I wanted to do for my girls. And I know I'm not the first mom to have conjoined twins. I'm not going to be the last. There are other moms. Just recently, a mom in Germany, she joined the Families of Conjoined Twins page. Very, very limited group. There's not that many people in there. But she said, I'm having conjoined twins and I'm thinking of abortion. However, they can be separated. They can be separated and not have any problems, nothing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a blessing. I messaged her. I'm like, if you have a chance, and like, I wish I had that chance. I was longing for a chance and praying and hoping. And she had her babies, and they're separated, and they're living very fulfilling lives. So I'm just so happy that there are other babies that get to live. And just if I can help in any way, I try to have my social media kind of be a little safe haven. I've had moms contact me already, and with the same emotions. I had no one to talk to really about this. I was so
Yeah.
alone. So just by trying to be like a big sister in Christ and just, I'm here to listen. And if you want to vent, you're upset about your baby, it's okay because we're a group of mothers. There are grieving mothers out there and we're praying for you. Now that I have my baby, I'm up at every hour at the night. I think of those moms who are also grieving their babies. I was in your position. And yeah, just know that I'm always praying for you.
If someone wants to, if they're in a situation similar to yours, they want to reach out, how can they contact you?
I have my Instagram is I speak Spanish, so it's Nicolita Nicolita_D. And I also have my family business. My cell is my personal number as well, but it's we do a hood liner insulation pads. It's like the for under the hood insulation for the vehicle. We do that for like Mustangs, Jaguars, that sort of
Oh,
thing. So
cool.
you can look up
Okay.
www.hoodliners.net and all my information is there. So I try to be easily accessible.
Awesome. I love that. Well, I appreciate you sharing. Just thank you so much for being so open and being available for women who may be in a similar situation. I know that your girls are interceding for you and for others, and their lives will save others, and I'm sure already have. So, thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And for everyone listening, stay safe out there and continue to share the good news of Jesus Christ.